Hello and welcome to this week's What's in Your Box for Wild Box number 37. And this week, as we continue our plant-based veganuary theme, we have recipes made entirely from plants, which the more I think about it does seem entirely fitting for a wild box that's made entirely from plants, although strictly speaking we also include another two classes of living things in the wild box, which are marine algae and fungi. We've got one new one for you, which is sea buckthorn juice. Sea buckthorn has become more and more well known in the last 5 years or so, as it has been in many parts of the world for centuries. Places like Russia, the Ukraine and Eastern Europe, they really have sea buckthorn as an integral part of their food culture and diet, and swear by it as a way to fight off colds, and generally as a very healthy thing to eat. We, on the other hand, whilst having it grown on the coast, in many areas of Great Britain, we don't seem to have a culture of using it, but now we are taking a leaf from other people's books. I should imagine also China have a culture of using it, and it's beginning to become more and more popular. But not much of it is coming from the UK. Ours is, in this particular case, harvested from Scotland. We do also harvest it from nearer to hand, but the season wasn't very good this year. Again, we have some acorns. We have a nice dry store of these. They do need reconstituting before, well, not reconstituting, but soaking before using to soften them slightly. And once again, we're taking the approach of roasting them. In effect, that makes these more of a flavouring item than a conventional. Well, I suppose the fact that we're using them chopped, it's an unusual flavour for a nut. It's kind of caramelly, toasty flavour that's infused, again, into a dessert with the sea buckthorn and our other dry store item this week, which is meadowsweet. And I've probably said before, but meadowsweet is my favourite wild spice. It reminds us of the summer, but we managed to harvest enough of it, so again this can be a flavour all year round to go into desserts. That's mostly how I use it, although we do use it as a tea along with meadowsweet leaf. It's good for settling the stomach, and also contains natural aspirin, so good for, if you're feeling some kind of pain or discomfort such as a headache or even a tummy ache. It's perfect. It'll take away the discomfort in two respects there, by soothing and also acting as a painkiller. But yeah, we're approaching this more as a dessert spice, although I should say there's famous chef Ollie Deboo. He does a recipe with sweet corn and meadowsweet. We'll perhaps feature a variant of that one week. But yeah, all of our dry store items are being used together this week to make a dessert with sticky rice. We were thinking about rice pudding, and we came across this sticky rice recipe using coconut milk, so we've adapted it. It's actually on the back of the sticky rice packet. We've adapted it to include these wild ingredients, so a lot of different wild flavours going into that sticky rice recipe. And then one other new ingredient this week, we have opposite leaves golden saxifrage. And this is a plant of kind of boggy places, well, fen areas really, kind of lowland, boggy, fenny areas, where it sort of creeps along the ground in amongst all the other plants of the fen. And it has beautiful yellow flowers in the spring and summer, but they're not in evidence just now. But flavour of pea shoots, little hint of cucumber, slight spice to it, and a lovely succulence. I generally substitute this for chickweed if I didn't have chickweed. It's a nice base for a salad, although slightly stronger flavour than chickweed. Then again, we have sea beet. Probably told you before, but it bears repeating. This is the wild relative of Swiss chard and beetroot. I mean, it's exactly the same plant, but those are examples of sea beet taken into cultivation. So you can use it pretty much like chard, or if you're in the habit of using beet leaves, But it's a little bit more substantial than chard, I would say. The leaves are slightly thicker and more substantial. And this week we're just using that wilted down into a dal. Also going into the dal is three-corner garlic, just such a versatile plant. It's just used to finish things off, really. Although we did have a bit left over this week, which wasn't quite good enough to sell, so I put it in a big stir fry with some Alexanders and some sea radish, both of which was on the way out. So we just did a great big stir fry, and in this the three-corner garlic takes on more of a kind of oniony flavour. It wilts right down and you lose that slight hint of garlic. And then lastly we have bittercress, which is doing really well this time of year. It is a winter plant. It's not solely a winter plant. You can find it in the summer, but the time when we find it really in most abundance is in the winter months. And it's doing particularly well this year. These lovely great big rosettes. You can sometimes have a rosette with maybe a 20th of those leaves. So these are really nice big substantial ones. And the bittercress and the opposite leaf golden saxifrage, they're going together into a raita, which because we're pursuing a plant-based regime for veganuary, it's the same as the rice pudding. We've put coconut milk in instead of milk to make this sticky rice style rice pudding, and then for the raita we've just used coconut milk, and I at first thought it was not so authentic because it lacks the sourness of yogurt. You could use coconut milk yogurt, I should say, or any other kind of plant-based yogurt. However, the plants have released a kind of sourness into the coconut milk. If you make it a little bit in advance and allow the flavours to meld with the milk, it does take on a slight sourness, which is quite interesting. Okay, so that's it for this week's What's in Your Box.
Warbot number 37.